It is live. I'm just going to post in the chats really quick. All right. One more.
Is anybody else's sound like hopping in and out? Or is that just
I think like Matt sounds good for me. Like yours is like a bit choppy, but I can kind of still hear what you're saying.
okay?
Yeah,
good.
I can hear both of you guys.
Okay, that works.
Chat, can you guys hear Barn and Mellison? We've got some people in now. Yeah, say something, guys.
Oh, so you get a sub.
A sub.
Hey, everybody.
Oh,
Hey, everyone.
Amazing.
Ooh,
Scoomy coming
we're
in.
popular.
Destroys me yesterday, and it makes me feel better by subbing. Anyone there, chat? Can you confirm that you guys can hear them before we start?
Can you hear me, chat?
I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
That wasn't the response for okay.
Oh, great. There we go. All right. All right. Thanks to those of you who have joined early. I'm sure more will come in. Welcome back for a bonus episode of TMTL Turn-Based Div1 streams. We ended a couple weeks ago, obviously, closed out the streams, crowned Barnawal the winner, wiped our hands and thought, okay, we're done with the season. And then Barn asked to do the debrief, and we had such a fun time when we did this a couple seasons ago, so we thought we'd jump on. We've got Barnawal and Mellison here, and we're just going to talk through the 4 games that I've been covering all season, and that's going to be the stream. So we're going to start with the game that is on everybody's screen, which is Fire and Ice map with Fire and Ice factions, no Fire and Ice scoring. We had game finished with Red Alert winning the game as Witches, just barely edging my Ice Maidens by a couple points. And then a bit more of a drop to Mellison as Giant and Barnawal as Dragon Lords. This one, for those who followed the streams, we talked a lot about, was a really interesting fast auction where everybody valued Ice Maidens or Witches as the best 2 factions, and then Giants and Dragon Lords as the worst 2 factions in some order. And so that led to both of you guys getting factions that you didn't have higher preference because you just didn't like them quite as badly as Red Alert and I. And so maybe we could start there. Like, I know, Barn, you had Dragon Lords 3rd instead of 4th. I think everybody else had them 4th. So was there something you were looking at here, like in the setup, or do you just really not like Giants, or what were you seeing in Dragon Lords? I mean, not like it was that much, but would love to hear that thought process.
Oh, I saw nothing in Dragon Lords here. I just didn't want to play Giants. I just I wasn't totally. I thought Giants were honestly a bit better, but I wasn't completely sure. I just wanted to play Dragon Lords more than Giants. That's the only reason I had them lower.
Got it.
And I thought they were both really bad. I don't know. So I just wanted Dragon Lords seemed like a fun challenge. I just wanted to kind of check them and try them out. But honestly, this is a horrible Dragon Lord setup.
It was.
I know I threw them in there. Yeah, but it was not a good setup at all. Yeah, as you can see by end result too, it didn't work out too well. Although I still definitely should have had other factions like Witches and Ice Maidens lower in hindsight for sure. Like that was my biggest challenge. I didn't know how low to put them compared to the other 2. But like I also made some mistakes in this game. I definitely could have. I maybe could have come close to where Mellison got, like 137, maybe around there if I played optimally. But like it still like wasn't enough. Obviously, like Ice Maidens and Witches probably should have been down more.
I remember early in the game, the first thing you did that surprised me was you started on G4 with your second dwelling instead of D6, which is what I had been expecting during the auction. Mm-hmm. And then that meant when I was originally bidding Giants or thinking about bidding Giants, I was thinking they're going to be trapped and not be able to start in the center because they're not going to be able to get out. and they're going to get Pokeballed if they do that. But then when you left D6, all of a sudden, Mel, you could open on D7, and so like that was, I don't know, that was just a twist early on.
Yeah, I did not expect to start on D7 there. I was betting thinking it was going to be E2 or risk the Pokeball.
Right. So that helped.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Were you trying to get a neighbor, Bard?
I thought. Yeah, so I was hoping you'd start an H4 with me, but also like the problem with D6, I don't have a town in the middle. Like once you start on C3, I was like, I don't know, there's 2 hexes I can get. I can block giants in, but it's not very good for me as Dragon Lords. I'm so cramped for space if I do that.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Unless I go like D6, G4, but that's still awkward. Like so Matt, I didn't think you were gonna start on C3. That was my big thing. Is I thought in hindsight, like I don't know why you would, but for some reason in the auction, I thought you were gonna start there. And so I thought as Dragon Lords, I would be starting on D6 and get a nice center town and block giants. And then yeah, you made the right choice. You started in the right spots, and I didn't read that, and I was like kind of scrambling after.
Yeah.
And then yeah, basically I didn't like D6, and I was hoping I could get you an H4 with my neighbor.
Well, you know what's funny is if you weren't playing Dragon Lords, I think I probably, like if you were just playing a blue faction and you started on G4, I probably would have started on H4. But I'm always so, especially as ice factions that tend to be slow to expand a little bit, I'm always afraid of starting close to a fire faction. So I kind of figured C3 was safer. I also knew this wasn't going to be like a super tall strat Ice Maidens game, because there was that dwelling round in round 4, and like I just figured expansion was a little more possible. And if I start on H4, my odds of connecting feel pretty low.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't considered Ice Maidens like playing for network. For some reason, I thought like it was gonna be a taller Ice Maidens game, but yeah.
Yeah,
The track didn't really encourage that. I think you played it better than what I had in mind, basically for Ice Maidens.
Yeah. Well, and all of us just failed to stop witches, so I mean, he just, it was funny. There were many points like I could have tried to cut A5. I mean, I guess you did pop up Bard and take E5, which at least slowed that particular route, but he just got so many of his greens.
Well, he was on ship 3, I think, in round 3.
Is that right?
Like he just sprinted up, and I was watching the replay, and I still don't know how he got that many resources, got ship up so quickly. Building 2 temples the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and he did it without the stronghold, which is so funny. I feel like normally when I play Econ Witches on this map, the stronghold is like the way that you do that.
Yeah, I guess you get ship fast enough when you don't need it, but I know, yeah, I was kind of amazed you got 3 ship round 3 with a good economy too. Yeah, and Earth 1 scoring. I tried to cut off his town, like the bottom left of H2 there. Like I was hoping I can hold him to 1 town. That was like my only hope. I was thinking like if I could beat witches, if I could keep him to 1 town. But yeah, he still found a second town, so that didn't even work.
Yeah,
it was a pretty nice witches game by Red Alert.
Yeah,
like I don't really see like a big shipping spree witches too much on Fire and Ice.
No, but it really got him away from Dragon Lords as fast as possible. Like that's what had me worried about witches in the auction, is that they just like they don't have the same kind of control over where they go. But by getting out everywhere by round 3, like that wasn't an issue for him.
No, exactly. I guess the strategy against Dragon Lord just stay away from them. Stay the hell away from them.
that was my H4 thing. It was like just
avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing is like you don't have to worry about your natural hexes being taken most of the time.
Yeah. Totally. Dragon Lords
it's so expensive for Dragon Lord to dig your natural hex. Unless there's a lot of spades in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A
Like,
lot of spades or
it.
they're playing slightly smaller footprint.
Yeah, I'll take like 2 single spade actions as Dragon Lords or something like that.
Which I did in this game.
I know.
and a double tick.
Yeah, you did a lot of things as Dragon Lords in this game that I would consider atypical. You went double econ. You took a bunch of spade actions and you didn't build a stronghold.
Yeah, it didn't work too well. I don't know if I recommend it.
It was fun to watch, though. I mean, I have seen Dragonlord games where not so much single spade, but if they can take double dig a couple times sometimes, and it can work. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think you really almost need a double dig at some point, unless there's a lot of cult digs or like in this game there's no spade bonus too, which like you said, you feel like you don't need those Dragon Lords because you have all the power tokens to dig, but like you have to replenish them. Otherwise, I guess you go tall, but this wasn't a good tall setup, so
yeah. Although we all
those mid-round dwelling rounds actually really suck for Dragon Lords.
We all ended on 15 network, so I guess we all did pretty well on expansion, despite the no cold spades, no spade tile. So
yeah, I had to like push so hard for that, like all those spade actions. I had to do so many inefficient things to get 15 structures, and like I thought I can get 15 and beat everyone on the network, and then everyone gets 15 structures.
Well, it took me a hard dig in round 6 and the 6 coin bonus time, and it took me everything I had to, which is probably not the most efficient thing for both of us.
It's worth it, like, because it's like that's so valuable. Like the network swing, if you're gonna go for network, you have to push fully for it. But like with this kind of bad like competition for it, but like yeah, it's kind of painful. Well, and like witches felt like very comfortable for Red Alert to get to 15 structures.
Yeah, so well, once everyone is up there, the swing is that much higher, right? Like the difference between tied for first with 4 people and the other 3 people tying for first and you getting last is like 15 points. Like that's really so. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 on each person. Yeah, it's
right,
a huge
right
thing.
On each person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Any questions for the chat or any last comments on this one? We can move along.
I gotta say, this was fun. I had a great time playing this game. Yeah, very experimental, very stupid, but very fun. Makes me want to experiment with Dragon Lords a little more, figure out some other strategies.
I do too. They and Shapeshifters, who are in another game we're going to get to, are 2 of the factions I've played the least of. And I mean, I know objectively they're not great factions, but I feel like I should play them more.
Yeah. Dragon Lords in particular are just bad.
Shapeshifters are pretty decent.
I've never figured them out.
I feel like they're like, so like I remember on that tier list that just came out yesterday or 2 days before, whatever, they're on A or something. But I don't think they're, I don't know. In my mind, I think they're that good. Like I'd say C, maybe B. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not totally sure either. But I don't think they're like a really good faction or anything. No. I think they're better than Dragon Lords.
Definitely better than Dragon Lords. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Okay, we're gonna move to this one, which was my definite low point of the season, getting last. Mel, you also not as good. 3rd place as Darklings, and we lost to Red Alert's really another impressive game on Fire and Ice by Red Alert playing Engineers, and then George, pretty strong game here as the Kiers also. The big early story in this game, Mel, was your Darkling's Dwelling Rush, so you got to talk us through that.
Oh, I was so excited, but I thought that opening was so cool. And the more I've looked back on it, like I thought it was you get space, it's a dwelling round. Like when you do Darkling's Dwelling Rush, that's top notch stuff. But it didn't really get me anything. I think of like what's the value of doing a Dwelling Rush? Like you secure space, but all the space I secured was up in the top left corner where nobody else was going. Like I got a neighbor eventually, but that didn't really do me anything. And like you get the workers, but then I didn't have any priests and I didn't have any neighbors. So like, what are you gonna do with all those workers? I ended up just stashing them and building a lot in like 4, 5, and 6. But I built a temple in round 2 and 1 dwelling in the round 3 dwelling round. So like I really liked the opening, and then it just didn't go anywhere. And I think in hindsight, it would have been less cool, but given that round 3 was a dwelling round, being a little patient and getting those the northwest corner in round 3 might have been a little better for the game.
Yeah, I think your point about if you had neighbors up there, that would have made a big difference. But especially in a low coin game too, right? I mean, it's not that low coin, but we didn't have the 6 coin tile, and so, as you said, you had all these workers and not a lot to do with them.
Yeah, and I took a priest action in round 2 or 3, so I could get E4 there in the middle.
Yeah.
But that just strapped my coin economy. So for rounds 2 and 3, I really didn't have much of anything to work with.
Well, and the other thing that's funny is, like, if you don't get E4, then the Dwelling Rust feels maybe even a little less good, which there's probably a lot of games, like, if it weren't cluster scoring, you almost certainly wouldn't have gotten E4. Red Alert said in the chat at the end of the game that the only reason he didn't take E4 was because he knew it was going to be neither a cluster nor a town. So, I mean, you did get it, so maybe you foresaw that being available, but
no, I didn't really have high hopes for that. My other thought was to try to blast the what's the number, G6, 7?
oh,
the
7.
red right below.
Yeah.
It would take. I need 3 priests, and trying to get 3 priests with no temples and no leech was going to be a challenge. But getting to the other side of the central spine would have opened up a little bit more. Maybe, I mean, there's that one open black at G9 there.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. I didn't really have much like cluster or connection, but like not much network potential by not getting to any other open doors. And George took D8, that brown there, right after I got E4. That was my other hope, to try to spread out to the east side of the board.
Oh, right. Yeah, that would have been a cool one if you'd been able to sneak through there. That's not a hex you see Darklings on very often. Another thing, it's another thing about the Dwelling Rush that's interesting is, with a lot of factions, one of the advantages of a Dwelling Rush is you've got sort of excess workers, and you can turn around and hard dig with them at some point to secure a crucial hex, but obviously you can't do that as Darklings. So...
Yeah, priests and coins are the limiting factor, and I didn't have any of those.
Yeah, did you?
But
you did take fire. I mean, you did take fire 1. So in round 2.
Yeah, that was 3.
Yeah, helps a little.
Yeah, it started to.
What did you?
I think I built 2 temples in the round 4 temple round, and then big building and strong, and I guess the stronghold late was a good one for me, but
yeah,
just not enough. And like you said, Red Alert's engineers game, another one where he just like pumped up ship again in round 3 and was everywhere.
Yeah,
it's just another really impressive game.
He got a lot of the natural grays, which I guess makes sense given no color neighbors, but gray is typically so bad on this map, so I think this result probably surprises me even more than the witches on the other game. Just the way that he was able to find 181 points from this game is amazing.
I thought NGs are okay on Fire and Ice. Like, with no color neighbor, dwarves I know are really bad in it, but I think NGs are okay if you can get your space. It's just like you have to play a bit differently than space.
Yeah, maybe
I didn't think they're that inherently bad basically on the map.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just relative to other maps.
But I haven't played. I don't know if I've ever. Like, at least for me, it's been a long time since I played them on it, so I'm not totally sure.
I mean, he started on the Spade and didn't have color neighbors, which is like that's a pretty good baseline for starting off an engineer.
Yeah, that's fair. That is always good.
That's pretty juicy. Yeah.
Yeah. Got Leech in round 1. Like, can't ask for much more than that.
It's just like normal good engineers things, basically, and then you can kind of get going. With no color neighbor, your territory is pretty safe, so I guess you just get going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty nice score though. Yeah, 181. What was like? Do you know what the auction was?
I have it somewhere. It's in one of the previous streams. I paid the most for mermaids, and then I believe Darklings. I think everything else was pretty close. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see. We had. Oh shoot! I don't have it on here. Oh wait, I got it. No, I do. Darklings 40, Engineers 35, Fakirs 40, Mermaids 24.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, but Fakir's at 40 seems like we made a mistake there. Like I remember they didn't have a great there's is what their starting position or starting tile wasn't great, but it's a Cluster's game on Fire and Ice, and they don't have color neighbors.
yeah, I mean, no landscape, low coins is not great for them, but again, the value of not having color neighbors is just so strong. I think it often gets overlooked.
Yeah, I feel like it's like when you're like at a, I don't say like a lower level, but like earlier on, it's like simple, so you know like no color neighbors is good, and then like you start to maybe overthink things as you like think you get better or whatever, and then you kind of forget sometimes the simplicity of like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's it's kind of important to not have color neighbors. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. George, Clusters is always so funky. Like George didn't make this town at the bottom if he had taken I-5, just because it would have cost him a cluster. Like I'm sure he did the calculation that it made more sense not to, but Clusters is like the one extra scoring where the trade-offs become really wonky in the late game, which sometimes is really hard. Like I don't think I factored that in adequately when I was thinking about mermaids, because mermaids, you always lose so many clusters when you form your towns by connecting up those spots. The end game scoring is what really crushed me here. I mean, I was going to lose either way, but like it would have been more competitive if that wasn't there.
You always have kind of this idea that mermaids should be good in cluster scoring because they can spread around and hit and kind of dot a bunch of dwellings everywhere. But that's just not the way to play mermaids.
Yeah,
and it always kind of throws me off a little bit.
Yeah, well, and also on a lot of maps, including this one, a lot of the blues, just for balance purposes, are actually hidden behind other hexes. So like A10, H10, I guess those are the only two that aren't on the river on this map. But yeah, it's just like you can't get to them, and they're also not great town spots. At least G9, H10 is not, and so if you don't, getting them is just very inefficient.
Yeah, I guess maybe on base map they could be okay in clusters, but like it just feels so natural to try to build towns with them.
Yeah.
I guess if like ship DPs in the game, you do like a big shipping game and just spread out everywhere, like that could work. But I know what you mean, like Mel. Like it feels like they should be good at clusters, but they're just not.
It's just not.
It just doesn't work very well typically with them.
Yeah, and
Tears in their hand, like obviously other clusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not a very clustery map. You're right about that, Matt.
Lakes is like that too. There's like a bunch of the blues are hidden behind. They're like landlocked. All right. Any last thoughts on this one or questions from the chat? All right. Moving on. Okay. So this is revised base. My dwarves came out on top. Barn second, 155 as Alchemist, and then Red Alert and George finished tied third, fourth at 150. So this was the narrowest spread game in the league from top to bottom. So super tight the whole way. I thought it was really interesting that I think at least two of us, if not three of us, valued Mermaids and Fakirs as equal in the auction, and then they came out tied, which is just like it's mostly a coincidence, but really really wonky. But this was a fun game, and Bard, you really found something out of Alchemist here. I mean, I think you actually had them as your fourth choice in the auction and still ended up on them, which is actually pretty rare. But you did much better with them. I thought this was really not a good setup for them at all, and you managed to make it work.
Oh yeah, it was not a good setup for Alchemist. There were 3 scoring bonuses at least, but no ship DP.
Yeah.
I think the big reason why like both of us had really good games is we're really good friends. Like in the East there,
yeah,
we kind of had our own little party to ourselves, and I think like I thought Fakirs and Mermaids were really good here because they're gonna like give leash to each other, but it wasn't clear what dwarves and or at least wasn't clear what alchemists were gonna do. But yeah, I guess me being friendly with you in the East, I don't know. I thought I was struggling more than I was in this game. I think I was doing better than I thought a lot of the time because it didn't seem like a very good alchemist setup, and I managed to do okay. But yeah, I think your game was really cool, and I think you got the best deal in the auction too. And then I was me being nice to you. Well, aside from dig 9-9, but
Yeah, I was.
otherwise,
Yeah, that was
kind
kind
I
of
think that I guess that has
unnecessary.
worked pretty well for you.
Yeah, it was a little. Luckily, I didn't need it. Threw the landscape down early and secured the connection that way. I was surprised that I was the only one who put dwarves as the most valuable in the auction. I think revised base is pretty good for them because they have 4 grays naturally in a row here. They also for the most part, I think the trade-off of F4 and E7 being flipped on revised base relative to base is bad. But the one positive is that you're more likely to get G2, which then opens up like G1, I3, and sort of that side of the board, which in this game was super important because we had the Sanctuary Stronghold distance. And so being able to score, I think the reason maybe that dwarves were a little bit undervalued and the reason that I probably was able to sneak out the win here was winning that as dwarves is not very common. Just getting big distance without having the shipping, I think that was kind of the game changer in this one.
Yeah, that was a huge swing. I guess in hindsight, it's kind of predictable. Like thinking about it now, because I mean, Fakirs are just not usually very good at that. Mermaids are kind of like with Alchemists in the East are kind of trapped in terms of distance. Like it's a bit hard for them to really get their. Like I remember this game like you wanted to build your sanctuary in round or like there's a sanctuary round in round 3, so it was like natural to kind of build it up for a scoring favor there. But they had it in the center of the map, and I guess and like I was kind of caught up in Mermaids in the far like west too. So I guess in hindsight maybe like maybe we should or maybe I should have seen that dwarves would win sanctuary stronghold distance. And like exactly where you have it like makes total sense. That's such a funky second town down there too. With the stronghold of the bridge.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I've ever
the
seen
mermaids one
like
too. 2 big stronghold towns next to each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the mermaid one is really funny.
I think Fakir's expensive TP into 10 coin stronghold too. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah,
like Mel, do you even see where George's stronghold is? Like just an outsider perspective?
Oh man.
Landscape does wonderful things.
Bart,
where did you start this game?
I started C4 and E10.
Okay.
Like E10 was kind of weird. I just started E10 because I wanted to get more leech from Matt. And that was my logic was that, and then because Matt was gonna like dig up from F6. What is that? F6 to E9 to D7 around me there.
Yeah.
But I also knew I was gonna get to G5 pretty quickly, and that was like an extra black hex if I didn't start there, basically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's always tricky where black goes on this map, but C4 is perfect for alchemists.
C4 is
it's kind of the same thing we found like with B5. You just need kind of that hinge hex.
Yeah.
That secures you in every direction.
Like if I didn't have C4, I would have mermaids could taken that. I would have been toast in this game. Like I had to start there for sure, and it gives you 2 ship options, which is good. Like expansion off 2 ship pretty quickly.
Well, and you actually got to 3 ship and grabbed F5 pretty early, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was round 2. Sadly, didn't put my landscape down. I got 3 priests. That was kind of my plan, but what I really wanted to do was to take. I may have mentioned in the chat at the end of the game. I really wanted to get 10 ship in round 2 and get 4 ship and get C1 from mermaids.
You did mention
that was my dream this game.
That would have been.
Unfortunately, Red Alert was. I don't know if he was on the ball and saw it, or if he just wanted 10 ship for other reasons. I think he said he was just generally worried about expansion. But he had Dwelling VP open and could have passed on to it and had a similar round 2, but he took 10 ship. So he read it. Whatever he did, he read it correctly because I would have definitely stolen that from him.
That would have been so cool.
I would have loved that. And I would have been. I mean,
he might have just been trying to get a good hex.
He might have. Yeah, just for good expansion.
Yeah.
I highly
doubt. I think he won power.
I highly
points action too.
Yeah. I highly doubt.
But like, actually, would have been It would have been a swing for Stronghold Sanctuary distance if I could have like fully connected from there, because my Stronghold would have gone to C1, and then Sanctuary onto E10. I would have had it differently set up than this.
Yeah,
and I think that would have. I may have tied you, Matt. Maybe it would have been enough to win. I'm not totally sure.
Well,
but it would have changed things for sure.
Yeah, if you get
I was a little sad. Actually, I was very sad when that happened. I'm not gonna lie.
If you get C1, you probably get A4, so you probably could connect that way. But yeah, that would have been wild. Let's see. Scooby asked in the chat, how early did I secure G3? I think it was round 2, I want to say. Barn, do you remember when I cut that landscape?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. It was definitely I
round
got
two.
double dig.
Because I remember I was worried that mermaids could take that on you, but you snatched it before they had any opportunity like to dig it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I think it was like your first action in round 2 or something like that. It was very early.
I think I took double dig because I got a good amount of leech from you in round 1 because I only did single dig in round 1 on E9, and then I think I did double dig for G2 and G3. I remember actually even earlier in the game, like during the auction in this setup, I thought if I lose G3, I also had the connection option of throwing the landscape on I6 and then also getting I9, which when I didn't originally think alchemists were going to get down here so quickly was potentially going to be an option too. So I had a couple outs, but that was probably the biggest risk for dwarves this game is getting cut off, which could have happened.
Yeah, I remember in the auction I was really worried about it, and I completely forgot the landscape on I6. Like I think I may have mentioned that as well, but that's like a really good fallback plan because if you do that, you'd secure I9 quickly. You'd like prioritize that more. I wouldn't have a chance to take it away from you probably.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think in hindsight, connection was safer than I realized. Like when we were bidding, so I would have had them lower if I was confident they could connect.
Right. I mean, there's always like I7 or something too. I mean, like there are more options, but that is probably the biggest way this could have gone wrong.
Yeah. I guess the cults are actually pretty even. Like I thought dwarves could like Oh, you did have the most cult points. Wasn't like a complete cult domination, but you definitely did have the most cult points. Okay, yeah. That kind of makes sense too.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on this one? Or questions from the chat?
There's just a lot of good stuff going on this board. It's sliced up so beautifully. Look how well everybody shared space. You've got the expensive Fakir's TP into Stronghold. You have the 3 distance Fakirs to get to I7 down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
The giant
3 range.
Southwest. This is nice to look at.
Nice alchemist.
I love
triple
that
dig on the A6.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here.
This weird mermaid landscape that's like attached to a town but not part of the town because it was built afterward.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He used the landscape to stay on 2 ship and connect. Like you don't see that as mermaids too often actually. Usually it's just part of a town.
Yeah.
I remember the Fakir's second town not working as well too. Like the game with George, like 1 town Fakir's again. Not that that's too abnormal or anything, but
yeah. I remember when he first built this bridge down here, I was like, why did he build that bridge? He could just build the landscape to finish the town, but now I see it's because he wanted to use it to connect on. Oh, that's so. Oh no, he would have been connected even without it. He had 2 shipping. Oh no, over to here to C3. That's what he needed. Interesting. Yeah, wonky.
Yeah, that's pretty wonky, isn't it?
A lot of weird stuff. All right.
That's what you get with revised base.
Yeah, exactly. No one knows how to play this map. All right, let's talk about it. So this is the game that for those of you who are watching this series, I declared over in I think round 4. I was like, this game is over. Barnawal wins, and you did.
Did it take that long?
It might have been earlier. It was...
When did you have it, Mellison?
How many rounds in a row did you get double dig? Was it 2 or 3?
I don't know.
It was about then.
It was definitely 2.
I think round 2 as well.
Yeah. So anyways, Barnawal won.
That worked out pretty well.
Ice Maidens. Not actually as big of a gap between first and second as you know my description of the game might apply here. Mellison, you took second with Alchemists. Then it was a pretty big drop to my Mermaids and George's Shapeshifters. This one also was a really weird fast auction where like everyone had totally different opinions. We had 340 factions and then Shapeshifters were 36. So, but Bard, we got to start with you because like you clearly, I think the rest of us had Ice Maidens kind of low, and even I, who love Ice Maidens, had them kind of low. You got to. Is this the game you saw from the whole time? Like, what was your thinking? Like, just talk us through how this worked.
Well, first of all, I had Ice Maidens and Alchemists tied in the auction. Like I thought they were both good, but I wasn't sure which is better. So it wasn't like clear that Ice Maidens were like by far the best from them. The only thing I wasn't totally sure about was getting double dig round 1. And like once I got that, like I felt good. I didn't know it was gonna be like this good, but like I felt pretty solid once I got double dig round 1.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of just went really smoothly after. I did like I remember in the auction I did try to like look past the first round a bit in the second round, and I thought Ice Mains could potentially pass first and get double dig again. Like I did kind of read it this time. Yeah, I didn't know like they'd be this good, I guess, but like I was confident enough to have them like as tied for the best faction because of that, basically. And like the setup was really good for tall Ice Maidens. Like the track was like the round 3 TP and the round 4 and 5 big building and round 6 TP is like a really nice combo for them.
Yeah.
It just works really well with what they want to build. So like once I knew if I can get a good start, I'd be set later in the game.
Yeah,
and there's no other culty factions, so I figured that could make up for the lack of like Stronghold Sanctuary and network scoring.
Yeah, it's just like get the dwellings out and then you're done, kind of, and just upgrade at your leisure or when the track tells you to.
Yeah, just be a slave to the track after that. You're fine. I actually don't think I should have built the Sanctuary. I think I was like looking at that after. I think it was a little mistake, but like I don't know, it still doesn't really matter at that point. It was still fine. And like yeah, Alchemist really like mellison. It was like a really cool Alchemist game too.
Yeah, I mean,
we had a Sanctuary and 7 dwellings after round 2, which I've never seen before. That was nuts.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's only just
no, it's water
C4,
too.
like George snatching C4. Yeah.
Oh,
I had the same idea like for Alchemist. If I was Alchemist, I would have taken water too. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, getting those early priests and getting the dwellings up around the side, and then the stranded dwelling at G5 got a lot of leech in that first one, just enough to get like the extra workers action and an extra priest to get everything up and running. Like getting the sanctuary before building all those was very nice because that means I scored on all those dwellings up around the north. But George taking C4 just hurt my soul a little bit.
You may have won. Like if you got C4 and got your stronghold, like I guess you might have had an inexpensive TP or something, but you could have maybe won Stronghold Sanctuary distance. Like you might have beat me if you could have got to the other part of the map.
Yeah, it might have been closer, but yeah, just a few more like easy dwellings out there. Because then it was an awkward tempo of like, do I up digs and dig D1 before building the stronghold, and then you're losing all that power, and that hurts too.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be painful.
But yeah, it's always fun to do. I mean, I think Zivak did it a while ago. Water 2 Alchemist was like, oh, I guess this could be a thing. But Priest and Spades and doing decent on the cults, but then still losing Water Cult to you. That was another spot that just needed that little edge and didn't quite get there.
Yeah, definitely like winning Water felt good for me because it's beating both you up. Like it was a really competitive cult. So it's like that was nice to top that up. Like it's big.
Yeah, I definitely thought that like Water was the one cult that I was gonna be able to get as mermaids, and that obviously did not happen. So that was kind of the story of this game for me in general. As mermaids was like just a lot of things just didn't go the way that I expected them to. I didn't expect it to play so tall like this. Obviously, losing F3 out the gate was painful. Like I just couldn't really find any hexes. Problem. Mermaids, like this map is surprisingly bad for them. I feel like maybe I just haven't played them on this map very much, but it feels like there's just no natural spaces, or all the ones that do exist like have a lot of ways they can get messed up.
I feel like just losing F3 just hurts so much.
Yeah,
like more than anything. I feel like the map is like better if you get F3, or it's fine. You have like easier 3 town spots, but like losing it makes that third town so awkward to form. You need like 3 digs up on D1 and D4. I don't know. And you have I guess another problem is usually getting neighbors in the northwest for mermaids. It's not. Yeah, it's like awkward on viewers. They can have really good games though. Like it's just like maybe more than anything, it's like shipping isn't that good for them on fjords. Maybe digging is more important in general, and mermaids just don't. That's not their forte, so it's a bit tough for them.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly, but yeah, it just sometimes nice but awkward.
There was
Your
also...
game here is cool though. I mean, looking at the board, I'm like, I like it.
It looks kind of fun, but yeah,
It does.
it's funky. I mean, there was a Premier League game this season too
Could have been.
where Claybo got double dig the first 3 rounds as mermaids and still lost handily. So I don't know. Know what it is. Maybe
on fjords.
On fjords, yeah.
Mm.
He got F3 with that triple dig. He had like 2 towns surrounding this kind of western central landmass very quickly, and then just like part of it was like no score. It was like very low scoring at the end of the game, and he just kind of ran out of stuff to do. But you'd think something like that. So I don't know. I wonder what the path here is in general. Maybe it's just because mermaids need to be able to score some on network. I got basically no points. Well, I guess a little because Ice Maidens didn't do anything, but got blown out on the other one.
Is that right, Barn? You didn't do anything this game?
I mean, I basically played my own game, so yeah. You guys all did follower stuff. I just kind of did my own thing.
Solitaire.
Once I got water cold, I was like, I didn't have to do anything else. Yeah, solitaire. It's like Swarmlings, exactly. I think the big issue I guess with mermaids in hindsight is like the network competition, also the ship DP competition. Because like Matt, you're at 3 ship by round 2, and like if you could have hogged that ship tile,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like you could have scored a ton of points, but like I don't know if you could have. Like I think it was just in high demand this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this faction combo just isn't very good for mermaids.
Yeah, alchemists I guess are probably a lot worse for mermaids than darklings just because of the shipping.
Yeah. I feel like they're probably like each other's like nemesis almost, alchemists and mermaids. Like on fjords, alchemists just kind of can squash them a little bit. I guess not even squash them. They kind of like oppositize the map, but they just beat them on network. Yeah. Like on base map, mermaids can screw up their connection. Like, and they both like ship BP. Yeah, they just get each other's way, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like on this map they can split it pretty well. Like alchemists play mostly in the east, and mermaids, if you get F3, you have a lot of space to like build a 3rd town right there. Like I feel like there's a way it can work pretty well in fjords. Just when you lose F3, it just cuts off that whole southwest corner for you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it is as simple as that hex. Interesting.
Yeah. The other awkward thing I think for mermaids, I think round 4 and 5 was big buildings in this setup.
Yeah,
it's not really great for mermaids. You tend to want to build your big building around 6, or your stronghold at least, I guess. But because they're strong with sanctuary distance in this game, like you really want to build it, but the timing is kind of awkward.
Yeah,
as always, like more minor thing, I guess, but it's like a lot of like little. But it looks so good in the surface, right? Because there's double early water rewards, I think. Like, yeah. Chip DPs in the game. If you could have dwelling rush round 1 or something, like you could have had a great game.
Yeah.
But I guess there's no temp ship. I guess that was gonna be hard to do.
Right. It's hard to dwelling rush without temp ship. This map also isn't quite as nice for dwelling rushes as some of the other ones. Mellison, we should mention that you managed to win network with 16, even though you had an abandoned dwelling, which is pretty cool, I have to say.
I mean, we mentioned ended round 2 with the sanctuary and 7 dwellings.
Yeah,
like that's. I think I produced or collected 61 workers in this game. 61.
It was something really
double digits to 8 structure,
like
no
that.
connection, Ice Maidens. I just like, what do you do?
Isn't Terramiska great? Because you got like so many workers from the cult rewards too. Those round 4 and 5 big buildings give you so many extra workers. Because you play culty, they give you so many extra workers, and then you're like crazy dwellings in round 2. I don't know how much you got in the big building tile too, but that probably would have helped. Or probably help you.
All the scoring tiles are there. Like it was a really good outcome. The big building scoring round 4 and 5 is that definitely puts a little damper on your ceiling. Because I built the sanctuary in round 2 and I guess the stronghold in round 4, but it kind of limits upside a bit.
You'd rather one of them is good in round 4 or 5 probably, but both. You'd really rather have a TP or a dwelling scoring there.
Yeah, actually a big difference. It's probably like 8 to 10 point difference, something like that. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little extreme, but
and I built out a couple TPs. I think round 3 was the TP round. just to try to keep like a baseline coin, because not getting the stronghold out till round 4 means you're burning a lot of coins for points. To try to keep that going, and even getting extra TPs out in round 3 and still getting 17 network and 60 workers is pretty cool. But
yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah, I find whenever I build like earlier TPs as Alchemist, I tend to struggle. Like you did really well here with around 3 TPs. That was cool to see.
We should also note, I know we'll wrap up in a second. We should also note that we did see Stronghold shapeshifters here, which was fun. But then I think George ran into the issue that Stronghold shapeshifters I've seen often run into is they just can't find enough points as the game goes along, especially in a relatively lower scoring late game track that we've been talking about. I think that was his main problem here.
Yeah, he also just didn't have. Go ahead, Barn.
So yes, like I feel like it was really awkward for shapeshifters because their opening seemed really tough without opening Stronghold. Like they didn't have, like they weren't getting dig actions. It didn't seem like, and then like with yellow on this map, it's kind of you don't have any shipping options at this.
Yeah.
Long-term option. So I think in hindsight, shapeshifters probably would have been the fully faction by a considerable amount. Actually, it just seems funny when it's yellow with no color neighbor, but like on Fjords, if you're yellow, like nomads can use just stronghold and cut through the land masses. Fakirs can fly around it. Without those options, like it's really awkward to actually expand. You need a lot of digs or you need to shift, like he did here.
Yeah,
but yeah, then you have the point problem, like you said.
And you just need to shift to somewhere where you like can leverage it a little bit more. Like he shifted to red and then got D3 and I guess F E5, is that the one there? But then like from there he didn't really have, like he had to hard dig F6 there to get out, had to hard dig C4. Like it wasn't, because I don't know if you two remember, but in a Fjords League game I opened Stronghold Shapeshifters on yellow. Ended up winning that game by a bit because I was able to get a single dig on D3 and then shift to gray, and there's a gray all around there and in the on the eastern the western big land mass.
Yeah.
But they're just that was that option. So I had that game in mind, which is why I bid shifters. I was like, oh, I'll find something else. But it didn't really materialize here. There wasn't a way to do it. And by building his stronghold over there, he wasn't able to get like if you get a really early town, like you get a ship town and then expand more from there, something like that. But he didn't have that option because the stronghold wasn't in his main expansion path. And I think that would help. He got that ship town on C4, but by that point he had taken two hard digs, and like I think that kind of killed his economy.
It just really slowed the economy. Yeah, there's a nice path for shapeshifters on Fjords as yellow is if there's no blue in the game and you can shift, and theoretically you could get D4, F7, G6, and I5 are all just like right there for you. Yeah. You don't even have to get a spade. Obviously having those are all, especially D4 and F7 are like highly contested hexes, so it's probably unlikely they'd all be there, but blue and black and gray ice maidens in the game, none of that was, gonna happen. Red Alert just hopped into the chat. It looks like Red Alert. We've already covered the games that you were in, but any comments? I could flip back for a second we could go back to your nice witches win here if you want to note anything before we jump off.
Can you tell us how you keep getting shipped so high so early? I'd like to know. I even watched the replay. I can't figure it out, but suddenly you just have a ton of coins, and suddenly you have a ton of shipping, and I don't know what to do with that.
I want to do it for myself. That's what I want. What's the secret sauce? Tons of coins and shipping. Oh man. All about the
How long
Act
do we
4.
wait for a response?
All about the Act 4. That's what he says. All about Act 4.
He's not wrong.
That's fair.
He's not
wrong.
No, yeah.
He's from the Simon B. School of Terra Mystica. Oh man. Well, thanks for season, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, these games were. You could just from the auction, Like you knew it was going to be a fun season, even when Barnawal put Dragon Lord in the game.
Yeah, now I gotta go play a Dragon Lord's game.
We need to have one chaotic game every season. Like ever since that first season, Mel, maybe you were in it too. I forget. If like Matt, we had that stupid big.
Oh my god.
Like a sandwich on Rabi's base. Ever since
then,
I needed like one crazy messy game in every season. So Dragon Lords and Giants in this one was like guaranteed to be. So that's perfect.
This is great. That game was one of my most favorite games of Terra ever. It was such a cluster. And it was cluster scoring, so pun very much intended.
Yeah, wow.
Oh man.
And yeah, these auctions are always so intense. These like high level turn based auctions. Like I never done fast auction before coming into here, so like I felt like I realized how much I rely on piggybacking on others during the auction because I felt like so lost at first in the fast auction. I was like, oh, there's so much to think about. Like I can't figure it out all at once. Like eventually you can kind of like hammer things down a little bit, but it's so hard to feel confident like in giving assessments for every faction at once. It's a lot.
Yeah. This game right here, I was watching the replay of it earlier, and during the auction phase, I thought it was I was stuck in the loop or something. Like it wouldn't go through, and it's realized because I undid my bids like 8 times. Because I was like, no, I kept having like a new thought. I was like, maybe this, no, and then I kept go back and forth and back and back and back.
So much second guessing, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love fast auction though. I think it's really, I mean, just for the time savings alone. But I like kind of the whole no piggybacking.
The reveal is always kind of a fun event too.
Oh yeah, I love it when I'm the last one. If you're the last one to put your bids in and you get that instant gratification of seeing it all play out right after you put your bids in, that's always juicy.
Yeah, it's fun looking through everyone else's bids and seeing like, oh, this person this person, what were they thinking or what was I thinking? It was entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess we will have to see you guys next season. Barnawal will be back to defend his crown. And till then, we've got Premier League final match tomorrow, and that's the end of the TMTL season this time around. And then either another TMTL season soon, depending on when that happens, or if not, then Air Mysticon is the big thing in a couple months here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Mel, are you coming? Are you going?
Can't wait for that. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna be there.
Yes.
Nice. All right, we're gonna do a Ice Maidens, Dragon Lords, Shapeshifters, and some wonky faction on revised base map. Live.
Giants.
Live. Stream for all to see.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, please.
Or River Walkers instead of Shapeshifters.
Oh yeah, there we go. River Walkers. Oh man.
That'll add the weirdness, yeah.
All right. Well, until then, thanks you guys for doing this. This is super fun. And
yeah, thanks for having us, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see you all soon.
Yeah. Good luck in the Premier League game tomorrow. I think I see you playing it. I don't know. But
I am. I unfortunately have already been eliminated from championship contention, but I have a big fight to not get last with George. So we'll see how that goes. All right. See y'all later. Thanks everyone in the chat for joining. Hope you all enjoyed the streams this season. If you missed any of the earlier ones, they are on YouTube. This one will go there soon too, and come back to the channel soon for more Terra Mystica fan faction content probably. But until then, see y'all.